How are y'all today? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Good, good, good. Um, I don't know if I had an opportunity to meet each and every one of you. I think I know Jimmy. Jimmy, have we met before, right?
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh. And Tonda, I'm not sure. I guess I know it's been kind of crazy with the COVID, and then I was always popping in and out of the office. But anyway, I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about myself before we get started. So my background in the business started 16 years ago. Real quick, I started with Caldwell Banker for my first 4 years in the business. And then I moved over to Keller Williams under Renee. Um, and I've been with the Keller Williams office now 12 years. So I do have an office that I do rent over there, and I know that I'm only in and out of there most of the time, but the last year I served on the ALC, and I got more involved than, concentrating on just my business. Anyhow, how long have each and every one of you guys been in the business? Have you just been signed up with Keller Williams for your whole career, or did you any of you come over from another realtor firm? Hello? I may have lost everyone.
Oh no, I'm here. We're here. I
Okay.
can hear you. Okay. I've been with
No
y'all
one's answering. No one's answering. I'm like, okay, did I lose audio?
No, it's kind of like hard to unmute yourself when you have to try to, when you.
Oh, you're unmuting yourself. Okay. Yeah. So I'm I was told this is supposed to be interactive, more than just listening. And I know that you guys probably have personal things going on in the background, just like I do. So forgive me too, because I'm still learning this Zoom as well. I don't know about you guys, but I just started getting on this Zoom during this COVID. So forgive me. So if I don't hear, I'm asking questions, just, if I don't hear it, I might say it more than one more time and just unmute yourself. Anyone chime in and jump in at any time. We're going to make this interactive. I'm going to scroll through each and every one of the each page of the PowerPoint presentation, and we'll touch a bit on each one. We're going to today talk about buyers and sellers and contract to close on each side of the transaction. And we'll just discuss steps and just brainstorm. And then in the end, talk a little bit about, prospecting. But mainly, I just want to talk about the meat and bolts of just getting the contract underway and contract to close. Did everyone hear that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just get started. And I'm going to go ahead and get on this first page here, which I guess I just touched on it, what we're going to be focusing on today. Basically, negotiate contracts, transaction management to close, managing vendors, and then compliance and risk management, which those are the 4 important elements of contract to close. Do you have any questions so far, or anything that you would like to touch on, or you have any questions on that I can maybe answer or help? Anyone? Nope. Okay, well then we'll just get started. Slide 3 is about build your buyer and your seller timelines. If you look at the screen, can you guys see the PowerPoint screen?
Yes.
Okay. So it kind of outlines best practices, recapture and success list, but then here it says build the buyer and seller timelines. So like, for example, on the buyer side, when you're working with your buyers, and you set a timeline with your buyer, I think the best practice is to have a checklist. And I know they do have sort of a checklist in Command. Are you guys all in Command, on using Command right now?
Yes.
Okay. So when you going in, are you guys all familiar and comfortable with setting up your contact in Command and opportunities?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay. So when you go ahead and set up your contacts on and you go in and create your opportunities, there actually is at one point where you can set up under buyer profile or under seller profile. There's a buyer's guide and then there's a seller's guide. And under that, it actually gives you a checklist. And with that checklist, you can check, it keeps you kind of in a timeline that you can focus on. Timelines are very important, as we all know, because we all have deadlines that we have to meet, and deadline dates are important in real estate, right?
Yes, they sure are.
They sure are. And I find that folks tend to forget about that when, you know, we're focusing on writing our contracts and then trying to take that contract to the closing table. So the most important thing I find, once you write that contract, I'm still using Dotloop for my contracts, and I think some people are in Instranet and DocuSign. Other than the initials or the bottom of the page, I find that Dotloop has a timestamp on it. I think it's real important that we follow those timestamps that's on our paperwork, because that will also keep you in check with your timeline moving forward. So here we go. We're gonna move from this and go to the next page, which is build the buyer timeline. So work with your lender, home insurance, close, execute the contract, home inspection. I think execute the contract is the first step. Work with the lender, and then home inspection, and then it clicks on to home insurance, home warranty. I guess if your client is accepted with a home warranty, if it comes with the contract, it's something written in the contract that would be part of your timeline, because you have to get that underway prior to close. This is just a good graph showing you your steps on your buyer timeline. Any questions with this?
In Command, I know you said that the timeline is in Command. So is it accurate? Like, can we follow? 'Cause that's what I was looking at this morning. So everything that's in Command is pretty much where we need to be when we're under contract.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the real good thing, I guess, about Command, and honestly that, and we're talking about it now, when you go in and you set up your contact, you set up your opportunity, you put in the property information, and then it brings you to your documents page, either the buyer profile link at the top, all those different ones you can click on. All the documents are all, it tells you which ones are required and which ones are just optional, and that keeps you in check with all your paperwork and your timeline with your paperwork. When you're doing the smart plans and you add your client into the smart plans, you get them active in there, it's going to give you a set guideline on your time and keep that file moving in the proper timeline. Have you guys done the smart plans yet with any of your clients?
I thought the smart plan was just for marketing. I didn't realize that it was also
Yeah, it kind of helps you with that. Yeah, the smart plans is it helps you give information. It's with marketing too, but it helps you with that as well. Um, when you scroll down to the bottom on the command, and there's like the last the consumer icon. Have you gone into the consumer icon at the bottom?
Yeah, I've looked at it.
Yeah, when you go in there, it's gonna that's also gonna automatically pull up for your consumer, whether it's your seller or your buyer. It pulls up the buyer's guide and the seller's guide, and there's you click on that, and it gives you the checklist too there under consumer. There's a lot of wealth of information on there as well, and that'll keep you in check. I think the most important thing when you execute the contract is to stay in just to remember that everything is moving fairly quickly. If you want to keep your transaction moving quickly, it's all about communication and all about getting the proper paperwork where it needs to be. So once you execute that contract between the buyer and the seller, that immediately needs to go to the lender. And then from the lender, at that point, it also needs to be sent over to a title company so they can start processing for the abstract work to get it to close. Now, in my past history with sending it to the title company, you just stay in contact with the title company because you never know during that inspection period, which is either a 7-day, I've had a 7-day, but that's very rare. It's usually 10 or 14-day window for your inspections. Make sure you stay in contact with the title company because they do not like wasting their time. That's important with doing the abstract work and then it falls apart because inspections, something goes wrong and neither the seller or the buyer agree. And then you call the title company and are like, oh my God, we've already done all the work, right? Has that happened to anyone yet?
Yes.
Yes, so you've experienced that. So that's why it's really good to be proactive and with the communication in the timeline with all parties in the transaction, because during that inspection period, you're still under negotiations at that point, and it's almost, I wouldn't say it's a waste of time, but time is money for the title company as well. So that's really important. But getting it to the title company is also important. So they usually stay in communication with you and say, okay, do we have the green light to move forward? And then after that, if they do, then they start the process. And then the next step is appraisal. And then ordering the appraisal before closing. All of it has a timeline and you want to stay, it's important. Also communicating with the buyer or the seller and the other co-agent as well. Very, very important. I'm going to move on to the next slide. This is plot and communication points because I'm kind of talking about that. Communicating with everyone, that's very, very important through the contract to close. Documents on your timeline, that's what I'm talking about. Making sure you have all the proper documents, which when we were talking about command's going to keep you in check with whether you have your buyer or your seller logged into command. Now it's all lined item, each one. You saw it, you see it before you have to get paid. You have to upload each document that is required either for your buyer or for your seller. All those documents are very important in the timeline and to keep them moving. We have to communicate with our buyers and make sure that they are sending all their proper documents to the lender during the process, especially in the beginning while they're getting approved. They need to send all their proper documents to their lender, their W-2s, their bank statements, whatever the bank is asking for to get approved. Do y'all have any questions with that? How many of you guys are just getting started haven't had any closings yet? or is anyone on the call that hasn't had a closing yet?
Me, Tonda.
Oh, hi, Tons. Okay. Are you working with any buyers or sellers right now?
Well, right now I have rental properties, so I've just been dealing with that right now.
Okay. So so these are rental properties that are your own rental properties, or you working with clients?
Well, I have a client that has several properties that they have allowed me to list.
Oh, okay. So you've been working with lease listings right now.
Yes.
Okay. And then you've also been working with tenants trying to occupy these properties then. So
Yes.
basically it's sort of like a buyer seller situation, but you're doing the lease side of the business right now. Okay. Which that's important too. Very important as far as timelines. And signing leases. Oh, leases are very sensitive. That's a whole nother animal. That's a whole nother animal, I know, because I own my own rental properties. I hope that's all going well right now during the COVID. Are you doing okay with that?
I am. I'm actually on my way now to meet a tenant that's about to move in. So it's been interesting.
It's been interesting. Okay. I can only imagine. Okay. Yeah. Cause I know with my own personal, tenants, and I'm just touching on that for you, Tonda. I've had some that have just been okay. And even though they've had to shut down their business, cause I have a couple of commercial, properties. And then I have, several residential ones, and one of them, my tenants, is a photographer, and this should have been a busy time for her business, and with graduations and stuff, and that's all got messed up. And she's actually been my only tenant, but she has been the whole way like worried that she's going to lose the location, concerned that she's not being able to pay the lease or pay the rents and keep up with it. So they've had to apply for the assistance. Are you running into that issue with any of yours, or they're just fully engaged with their jobs and are able to lock in the lease?
Yeah, I've been pretty lucky with that. That the ones that I've dealt with so far have, just been able to maintain. Haven't had any job issues. So let me knock on wood.
Well, good. And so really what's really important right now, and I'm touching on this because we're supposed to be interacting about, contract to close, meaning what does it take during that whole process, and communication is key, and putting everything in writing is very, very important. So make sure, especially during this time, that there's that everything that you're discussing and communicating from start to finish, because that could be where you could fall into a pitfall. I'm supposed to talk about those type of things today. Things we need to do to avoid those pitfalls. So I find that just put it in writing is real important. I feel like during this COVID time, and I talk a lot about it because we're kind of in a shift, and everything that we're doing now is either online, from a safe distance or whatever. So now more than anything, our communication, there's a lot more opportunity for pitfalls to happen and things to fall apart, right? Do y'all agree?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. For example, besides leases, if you're under contract, and I am under contract with several of my listings. I've got 4 listings under contract right now and 4 buyers. And one of my really nice listings that I have, one of the other realtors that I communicate with sent me an email during the inspection period with a list of things, and it was sort of a list, but it was like a negotiation too, to try to renegotiate with my seller. And then in the interim, I have a property manager that actually manages that particular property that we're under contract with. So I have like communication between the seller, the property manager, the other realtor, buyers, everybody all going on. And there were several situations where things got misunderstood. So then I had to come back to the table and say, hey, my communication with the other realtor was like, this is not an official inspection response. You did outline this on an email, thank you, but now I've got the property manager over there to, hitting the list, and some of the stuff wasn't negotiated between the seller, and he shouldn't have targeted that list right away. So what I'm trying to say is that it was so crazy that things just got so misconstrued that we ended up having to meet at the house, come to a communication all together with our safe distance. And I said, we have to come to some kind of agreement here because it was about to fall apart. It was what I'm trying to tell you.
Did you end up having to do something with the price? Did you have to?
Yeah, they wanted to come down off of the price, and they were going to overlook like a list of things that were found on the inspection. And then that was like at the top of the email. And then at the bottom of the email, they still wanted those things addressed that were at the bottom of the email. And then I was getting a call from the property manager. Why didn't you send me this list? I said, it's not really an official list. I'm still trying to get an approval from the seller. When I emailed him, it was just so crazy. I can't even tell you. So it's just so important when you've got more than one person involved in the transaction that everything's in writing. You try to stay with protocol, and always keep an open communication and be careful what you promise or not promise when you are talking with the other co-agent or your buyer or your seller. It's crucial, I must say. So the end result was I finally, when I met up with them on the last day, we had the verbal communication. I made her put everything on the official document. I had the communication with the seller. We came to a better understanding. And then last night, I sent it to him. I said, there's nothing new here. Most of this is what you agreed upon. It's just on the official document. And at this point, if you sign it, they sign it, we're done with inspections and we can move forward. So, but anyhow, my point is that could have really, I thought that the whole sale was just going to go south because there was way too much. This one was saying this and this one had the list. And then I had a property manager involved. And then, it was just so many people involved. Have you guys ever been told how many people it takes to make your transaction go to close? Has anybody ever been asked that question? Do you have an idea how many hands are in one transaction just to get it to the closing table? Any of you guys?
I don't have an exact list, but I have a sheet that I give to my buyers up front that lists the parties that are involved in the transaction, like the inspectors, the title company, the lender, because sometimes they don't know who all those people are. So I try my best to introduce and define who the characters are in the play, so to speak.
That's good. Very good. Yes, that's awesome. I think it's real important for each file to have like a checklist and that's part of like your timeline or your guideline or whatever you want to call it, or a guide to inform your buyer and your seller how many people, who are these folks and what's their role in the transaction. So I learned just last year in 16 years of being in the business, there is a total number of 43 folks that put their hands on one of our transactions. to get it to a
Wow, 43.
How 43? Wow.
43 folks. And I mean, I'm not the expert or the official person that came up with this number. This was taught to us and told to us from an instructor on one of my continuing education classes. It is 43 folks. If you start to think about it, you could probably start counting those folks, because you don't know how many between just the immediate folks in our office. Imagine, we've got Katie, we've got Nicole, we've got
Michelle.
we've got Michelle, we've got so many folks just even in our office that would interact with one of our files. And then we've got the lender, and then the lender has underwriting, and we don't know how many folks get that touch that file in the underwriting department, and or in the loan department before that, and then the appraiser gets to put their hands on that file, and then we've got the inspectors that have their hands on that file, and it just grows. So if you start thinking about that, you're like, hey, yeah, wow, I never really even thought about that. So it's so important to stay in control and to be the orchestrator of your contract, and to orchestrate great communication between you and everyone that's involved in that transaction. That means continuous communication, getting updates, staying on that timeline. All that's really important, because you just don't know when you're going to get a phone call from so-and-so. They need an extra document on this file before we can take it to close. And you're like, what is that document? I didn't know that even existed, or whatever. And if you didn't stay on top of it or communicate it, sometimes they have so many files that they deal with, these other folks, that they may forget to call you and let you know and keep you informed. And what happens at that point? Either you're going to extend that contract, that sale, or there could be a problem. It could cause a delay, or it could cause the file to not close, right? Yeah, so that's really all very, very important. And that moves me into the best practices and risk avoidance screen here. I'm on screen number 9, looking at your timelines. Where is the deal at risk of falling apart? We just talked about that. Anyone else can share. Where do you think the deal could fall apart? Anybody have any experience on anything falling apart or not happening that they can share?
There are several places, inspections. When you do inspections, and that's when, you find out if really what you see is what you get, but you find out that pipes underneath the slab are caved in. And the buyer says, well, yeah, we can still go to sale, but I'm not going to give you any closing cost, or I'm not going to fix it, or I'll fix it, but the price has to go up. So it's like, no, that's not,
Right.
no. And then I have one now. Well, right now with the clerk of court's office being closed or not totally open, if they can't do the entire research for the abstract online, that holds up the file. It doesn't fall apart, but it holds it up, because I've got 2 that are held up right now because they can't get into the courts.
Oh no, which parish is that?
One is Franklinton, but they have a property in New Orleans that they need to research. So Franklinton is in Washington Parish, and then the other one is in Orleans Parish as well. But they're
so you've been having problems with Orleans Parish. Most of all my properties under contract, I have some listings. I'm asking this question too. See, I'm going to learn from you guys too. So I have most of my listings and buyers right now that I am under contract with are in Jefferson Parish, but I do have some listings in Orleans Parish. So I haven't gotten that far during COVID. So they're having problems getting abstract work done through Orleans Parish.
Some of them, because not all of it's online. Some of it is, but not all of it. That's what I'm being told.
Oh, that's what I'm being told. Okay.
And then
how is your buyer or seller reacting to that? Are they agreeing to an extension, or How is that working?
They're agreeing because it's all in the family. Both these transactions involve families buying from another family member. So, there might be other offers that are out there, but of course they're trying to keep it, where the family member gets it. And it's like yesterday they requested an extension and I said, well, why do you need an extension? And then she told me that because of all, COVID-19, the lenders requiring more documents than originally had been requested. So that's another holdup.
Oh, gotcha. So your best practices for keeping the deal alive is what are you doing? You're just doing your part by keeping open communication, I guess. And you've done your extensions already, or have you had to do that yet?
One of them will probably be doing it today. So I asked, I was waiting for the title company to see how long we should write it for, or if we're going to do another 30-day extension, which, I would like, but, it is what it is. If it closes, that'll be great.
So these that you're going to extend because of that abstract work, title work, you're the only one on the transaction, or you're also communicating with another realtor?
I'm communicating with another realtor, but I was getting more information from my client. Like I said, it's family involved. So the two sisters
Sure.
would talk, and then they would, the seller sister that I'm working with would tell me what was going down. But what was curious is that I called the lender that I received the pre-approval letter from, and they said, well, no, we haven't even ordered the appraisal. Now, I know the appraiser had been there. Come to find out, the buyer switched lenders
Oh,
and is still talking to both lenders. It's like,
wow.
anyway,
That could
so
be a problem too. See, when
yeah.
you switch lenders like that, that could be a problem, because when you do that, what pitfalls could happen doing that switching thing? When you switch, it could
You have, you have
cause the whole deal to really be pushed back, right? Besides the title stuff, it could cause a number of things. And then it's not even informing the seller that the buyer has, got a new lender. They may have changed loan types. You don't know. I mean, that's kind of like you really should be amending the contract. So there you go. There's paperwork. There's your deadlines getting screwed up and messed up, and yes.
So yeah, things that come up, but that's what we as realtors do. No deal is the exact same, and our whole, I guess, job is to figure out how to overcome those hurdles.
How to overcome those hurdles, right? Oh, and we're doing that on a daily basis, right?
Correct.
And that was on the next question. How can we help manage other parties involved in the deal? And it sounds like you're doing that. You're like juggling it, right?
Correct. Communication is key, because I was, he doesn't call me. If I call him, he doesn't answer, and he'll respond with a text. So he prefers text, but even he wasn't responding to some of the texts. So communication is key.
It is. And I find that for a business that we're in, the real estate business, everything that we do is about technology and about communication. And I find that I do run into that situation as well with other realtors that don't respond, or people that just don't respond to your text messages, your calls, you name it. And those things can definitely cause some difficulty in your transaction, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Can y'all hear me? Because it sounds like y'all maybe the audio might be sketchy. Can y'all still hear me clearly?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay.
I have a question, Liz.
Yeah.
So are we supposed to tell the sellers that our buyers switch lenders, even if their loan type hasn't changed? Because I know if the loan type changes, then we have to amend the contract.
Yes, you do. But you should communicate with the seller that the buyer is now not with Gulf Coast Bank. They're now going with Regions Bank.
Okay.
Just so you know. Yeah, you should always communicate that, because, even though it could be the same type of loan, there's always something different. I can't even explain it, but those are different banks, and they have different requirements. Sometimes it could be just one document or one thing or one rule, or everyone kind of runs their bank. Like right now, for example, most folks in the middle of this COVID are trying to keep their businesses alive, right? So that goes into a whole nother issue about talking about our real estate market right now, because there are folks that had to shut their businesses down, that lost their jobs, and they might have been one of your buyers, and now they have to put that on hold. Or they could be keeping their business going right now, but they still have to apply for assistance. And, whether it's payroll assistance or whatever it may be, all this is different dynamics going on right now. And that's all going on the records and credits of our buyers and our sellers, right? So those things are, most of our buyers and sellers are doing all this to keep their businesses going right now with familiar banks or banks that they're used to working with, right? If not, we've been finding that some of the businesses haven't been getting the cooperation that they can with with the banks that they've been dealing with forever. And when they're not getting that assistance, they're moving to another bank to find a bank that will help them. And all that stuff could create pushbacks, change your deadlines and affect your sale, right? So it's important to communicate right now. Right now, of all times, I feel like any time to communicate what's going on with the buyer's lending part of the process, if that makes any sense, right? Does it make any sense? Y'all have any questions with that?
That makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really crazy that because and what I'm seeing right now like for example, I have a listing right now, the one that I was having craziness with the communication on the inspections and all that. And I didn't know how things were going to go. And I had to bring all parties together so everyone would be on the same page. That particular buyer had some issues with the bank that he was always dealing with. And he only wanted to deal with that bank because that bank was going to give him the best doctor's loan there is out there. He's a doctor. So of course he's under all this COVID stuff. So that's a whole nother issue. We had to get him, excuse me, finally we switched him over to another lender. And that lender was offering a doctor program. It wasn't the same kind of program. It wasn't as good as supposedly the lender that he wanted it with and was always going with, but it was going to be a similar doctor program, but not all the parts and components of it were the same. So yes, and therefore I had to inform my seller, yes, that other lender he was dealing with, he couldn't deal with him anymore. They weren't communicating with him properly. First they said he was good and he was approved. Everything was good to go, blah, blah, blah. And then they came up with something else and said no. So then we had to switch him. And we got him with someone else. And the someone else that we have with him now, the new bank, everything's going smoothly. So I'm just explaining something so I had to communicate. It's best practices. And it did delay. So we're going to be like a 1 week delay on the closing. So we had to make, an amendment to change the closing date because we had to switch lenders. So that's an example on that.
Liz, now will we instead, okay, since they did, it's still the same type of loan, would we do amendment to the contract or do an extension for the close date?
We do, it's the extension to the close date.
Okay.
Yeah. An extension, and you know that document. I'm sure you've seen it and you've used it.
Yeah, I just had to use it yesterday.
Okay, yeah. So that's, yes, you have to do that. So anyhow, so yeah, I just experienced that whole situation. We were supposed to close on May 14th, and now we're going to close on May 22nd. So that changed the deadline. So all that's important to communicate, get it in writing, and do that extension. Any other questions? I'm going to move the screen.
I have a question.
Yes.
Tonda needs to get back in. Is Katie here to let her back in?
Katie?
Yes, I'm letting her on right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Wait, did you have a question for Katie or?
Oh, I just was wondering if she was here so Tonda could get back in.
Oh, to kind of.
Okay.
Oh, okay. She got cut out. It went
Yes.
out on her. Oh, okay. Sorry about that, Tonda. Anyhow, we're going to move on to screen 10, your coworker relationship. Why is your relationship with your co-broker important? Where could the deal be at risk if you don't work with your co-broker? This is extremely important, folks, on this call. It's really, really important. We are a network business. That's what we're all about. Our relationship, you know, and sometimes we come across brokers or realtors that we may have known in the past. Maybe we don't. Maybe we've had a bad experience with them. But at the end of the day, when it comes to our buyers and sellers and what our business is all about, there's no doubt in my mind that you may come across that particular co-broker in a transaction, and you may dread it. You may be like, oh my God, here we go. But it's the important things is we're in it. We're a networking business. It's business. It's important for us to maintain a professionalism at all times, and keep that relationship open and communicating with our co-brokers, no matter how you feel about them personally, or maybe you don't even know them personally. I'm just throwing it out there, how important it is to maintain professionalism, because it's gonna make or break the sale sometimes, your relationship with the co-broker. You should always be in communication with your co-broker. Make sure you have all documentations from each other in writing. Whatever you don't have, communicate back with that co-broker and say, this is what I need, this is what I don't have. Same thing going through inspections, communicate and discuss it. Have open dialogue with that agent, and keep things at a respectful level and professionalism, and keep your personal feelings out of the transaction, because at the end of the day, the important thing is to get your buyer or your seller from a contract to close to the table. That's what's important. They don't want to hear about so-and-so is horrible at the job, blah, 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 blah. Okay, they get it, but that's not what they want. They want at the end of the day for you to get their house sold, or the buyer wants to get their dream home. Do you guys have any questions with that, or any experiences they want to share, or anything I can help them with in regards to a relationship with an agent or a broker? Any questions?
No, I just want to say, for me, it's like I try to keep the co-broker informed every little step of the way, just so that they know what's going on.
Well, that's great, Jimmy. Yeah, it really is important to communicate with them through the transaction. It takes us at least 30 days, and now 45 days they're asking us to do transaction. So that's a long time to stay in transaction. And you can easily, lose communication in that length of time, right? So it really is important to keep that checklist and stay in communication with that other co-broker at all times, because you don't know what they're thinking. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes on the client they're dealing with that's trying to get that home to the table. And things change daily. So it's communication, professionalism, respect is key. to that relationship and getting your thing to the contract to close. Okay, I'm going to move on to screen 11. Get repeat business and referrals. This is more about working with your buyer or your seller, wowing them with your technology and tools to continue with keeping business with that particular buyer or seller. And of course, we all know we have our wonderful KW app, right? Are you guys all using the KW app?
Yes.
And you are sending those, okay, to your buyers. Anyone not using the KW app right now? I guess everyone's using it. Well, that KW app, I personally use it. I think it's wonderful. I've been having it since the get-go when they offered the KW app. Of course, it's all updated and upgraded with the command now. So for example, when you put your buyers on that, they're like, wow, you know, they get like, you have your own app, you know, so it keeps you in front of your client all the time. And I promise you, it helps them to think about you all the time. Now through the KW app, if you see where it says create vendor and utility list, you can do all that. It's pretty much like in Command where they have, you can create these type things for your buyer or your seller. That is offered through the KW app, besides setting them up on whatever criteria they're looking for, whatever searches they're looking for, whatever particular area you're gearing them to. All that is very important. And then plan a closing gift. That's when you make it to your closing. I don't know how many of you are, but it's so nice to just give your client a nice closing gift as a thank you and something to remind them, you know, in the future, wow, it was great working with you, and you thank them for giving you the business. How many of you guys do that, have given closing gifts? Or do you use that practice?
Yeah, no, I do.
You do, okay. And you are aware that on your taxes, you're allowed up to $25, right? On your closing amount. That's the deduction that you're allowed per tax code on your closing gift. So you can find something really nice, even if it's a $25 gift card, you know, at a store, at a Home Depot, for them to get started in their new home. You know, anyway, any creative way you can come up with to continue to get repeat business and referrals. I'm going to move to screen 12. Screen 12 comes to Command Transaction Management. Let's see. I made some notes on that. I think we touched on that a bit and talked about Command transactions. Everyone here on this call, I think, if even for leases, have gone into Command, right, to upload their buyer or seller and your proper documents, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's all what it's a part of your Command Transaction Management. In the next screen, it says you go into opportunities, select under contracts. This is part of those links where you've got to go in and set up all your different documents. There is the part where it says your listing docs, if it's a listing, and you put all your listing paperwork. And if it goes under contract, then you put all your buyer information in there and all the documents in there. And then you can edit, you know, the stages of that, and then customize your checklist by going under your seller guide. And when you click on your seller guide, it gives you that checklist, and you can check off all the different things that you've done, the different stages that you've done so far through the transaction. That's under your seller profile or your buyer profile in Command. It's a link at the top. if you go under documents. Have y'all done that? I've done the checklist. Have y'all used those? Anybody?
No, I just go by the list that's on command as far as required documents.
Okay, well, this is just an extra step, just to keep you or your buyer or seller in track. It's just listed under the link at the top under seller profile and under buyer profile. And it'll automatically click a checklist. It's really kind of cool. So when you get a chance to go into your command, you should try that. It's really, really, really cool. Next screen we're on is screen 15, AHAs to achieve. Anybody have any AHAs or anything about during their contracts to close that they want to share that you're going through right now, even during the COVID? Anything exciting or new, or that's just some kind of aha that you've learned even through here? Anyone? Anybody have a special seller or buyer they're working with right now, other than what we've talked about before?
I have my first buyer, so I'm doing my first contract. And the lending company is emailing me right now about where's the executed contract.
While you're on this phone call, right? That's how it works. So great. So your congratulations.
Thank you.
And where is the property that you're selling?
St. Bernard Parish.
Oh, in St. Bernard Parish. Okay, good. I wonder how are they doing? So you haven't gotten it for, so this is going to be your first buyer there. Earlier in the conversation, I was asking what parish they were having trouble with getting the abstract work done, because I thought St. Bernard Parish was one that has been shut down. So
it's a bank-owned property. So do you think I'll have a problem with titles? I don't.
That depends.
Okay.
It depends. They could ask for a longer time frame on closing on bank properties. They could have all title issues cleared. It depends on who the bank is that has possession of that property. Did you write the contract for a little bit longer length of time? Is it a cash sale or a loan?
A loan.
It is a loan. Okay. So did you have any problems with the acceptance on the contract date? Did you do 30 days or 45 days?
Well, Nicole helped me. So June 12th, which will be 45 days.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Well, you're good. And hopefully that you'll be able, if there is no title issues, because sometimes the banks will take care of any kind of liens or judgments or any kind of imperfection on the title. Sometimes those banks take care of it. Sometimes, there could be something that could hold it up. That's a touch and go on a bank property. Any kind of foreclosure or bank properties, you don't know, and it could go into a longer close date. So just inform your buyer just to be prepared. Every step of the way. You'll just have to continue to communicate, which we've been talking about during this call, through the process, and keep them abreast of what's going on. And is it another agent on the other side of this bank property? Is it they're a listing agent?
Yes.
Okay, so stay in communication with that listing agent every step of the way. Because it's a bank property, I'm sure they're going to do minimum repairs maybe. I mean, you're going to have to go through your inspection period and all that. I'm not sure. There's always different requirements as far as what they will do. I mean, sometimes the banks usually want you to purchase those properties as is. You still can do your due diligence on your inspections, but sometimes the banks will take care of some of the stuff that to satisfy the loan to the buyer because they're ready to get those properties off their books. Just stay in communication the entire time with those because they tend to have a little bit more TLC needing on those properties, a little bit more attention than normal. But good luck with that and congratulations.
Thank you.
On that, on your first sale. Well, good. I'm going to go ahead and move to the screen 16, recap and create your success list. Someone on this call said they make lists. Who was that? They jot down, was that Myra? I don't know which person that was, but someone said that they make lists for their buyers and sellers. So it's really important. Like, this is what I use sometimes. I mean, you can, I'm always using these files when I'm doing, can y'all see this? I don't know. Can y'all see me on the screen?
Yeah,
see,
I can see the document, but we can't read it.
Can y'all see this? I mean, I'm just flashing it. This is a Delta title file.
Okay.
If y'all ever get a chance and y'all see Laura Ferreira in the office, especially those who are just getting started in the business, this is such a great file to use with your clients to keep you on your timeline and keep your checklist going. Because on here, it has either the information for your seller, and you put all that information there, or your buyer. If it's a condo, you can fill in the information on your insurance stuff. You can fill in for information on your final walkthrough. You can make notes about your final walkthrough before you get to closing. And then here it's got the listing agent, the selling agent, information on home warranty, on the termite information on the property. This section right here down here has closing information. Information on the lender for the file. So you can always say, oh, who's that lender? Because, if you switch in or whoever it was from the beginning, once you start popping out your business, there's no way you're going to remember all this stuff. And then you got your inspection section, the appraisal. This file is awesome. This file, if you can get your hands on this, folks, get your hands on some of these because this keeps you on track. Especially when you're first getting started.
That's checklist list from contract to close.
Yes, this is everything for contract to close on the listing side and the buyer side, and everyone who's involved in the transaction. And imagine all of it's here, and all your paperwork will be right here in this one place. It's awesome. I love it. I'm going to move over to the next screen. Daily success habits. That's part of your daily success habits. Keeping open communication with every party of the transaction. That's key. That's very, very important. Staying on the deadlines of the contract. How do you stay on the deadlines? Making sure you orchestrate all the folks that are involved in the transaction. Talking to the buyer's lender if you have to. Talking to the title company. Communicating with the realtor. Communicating with your client. Putting it all in writing. Saving all that. Keeping that with the file. It's all important. That's part of your daily success in the business. Next screen. This kind of just touches on your goals to set your career on fire. Some of you may be in PC. Are y'all in PC? Anybody on this call or no? The productivity coaching.
Yes.
Okay. And I think that you guys touch on this, right? The 10 contacts added, 10 conversations a day, 10 handwritten notes, and 10 home previews per week. This is just part of getting you to the contract to close, getting your business, setting you some goals. Me personally, and for you guys too, this will definitely set you on fire. But if you could add at least 2 clients to your database or to your command each day, your business will be phenomenal. I mean, just 2 clients per day. I was told that we could have a $10 million business just adding 2 clients per day on your database. And that's just my little take on that. The next screen that we're moving into talks about lead generate, uncover motivations, identify objections, close the deals, speak in terms of the customers understand, and build confidence. So we all know that lead generation is part of our business. That's important to get our clients. Uncover their motivations. We need to listen to learn and stay in sync with our clients, right? Always listen to learn. That's real important. That will get us to the contract and keep us in the contract. And it will get us and identify those objections. We've talked about that through this whole morning session about identifying any of the objections that could cause our transactions to fall apart. Make sure we're very clear and we identify those. And then once we get all those identified and we think we can overcome them, then what's the next important thing? Close the deal, right? Let's just close the deal. Speak in terms the customer understands, always. Whether it's listen to learn, but also speak in layman's terms sometimes, because some of our terms they may not understand in our business, in our world. Learn your client's personality, learn what's important to them, what motivates them, and explain to them the contract. Read through the contract. If they have a question, explain to them in layman terms, and as simple as possible, what that means. And build their confidence in you. When you do that, when you start listening to your clients to learn, finding their motivation, speaking to them in layman terms, this will build confidence in the relationship. Okay, next. We are going to be at 20, role play script practice. Here, under script practice, I am going to just share with you something that I found under scripts. I've used scripts before, like in the beginning, I guess, of my career. I don't tend to use them as much anymore, but I've been kind of delving into some of them that we have available to us, and they really are cool. How many of you guys are using scripts?
I've started to use them. I still haven't familiarized myself enough for them to become a part of me, but I do find that they help.
They do. And, you know, they're just a tool to read and just read and read. And sometimes if you read them 3 and 4 times, 5 times, some of the information will sink in, but you don't have to, they tell you to do them verbatim, but you can put your own comfortable take on the script. As long as you get the real meat and bolts of the script down, make sure you customize it to your personality and you come across not sounding like a script. You come across sounding like you're confident and you're comfortable. It's you. It's part of your profession, right? I found a real cool script, and I'm just going to share this with you because it says to role play, but if somebody wants to role play, we can. But there's on the KW Consumer app marketing promotions. Has anybody seen this? That you can add scripts to your app. Did anybody see that yet?
No, where's it at exactly?
You can actually Google it. It's in it's in the command, but actually if you you Google under if you go into our KW site, you can search scripts, and this will come up. And it's KW Consumer App Marketing Resources. It has some really cool stuff on it. Yeah, just search under scripts in our KW site, and it'll pull up all the links of the different scripts that they offer. And this one comes up and it says you can put a quick script search thing on there. Like if someone's actively searching for a new place, ? Daydreaming about what life would be like in a new neighborhood. Like these are some little questions you can put on there that they can link to. When it comes to real estate, my new app has it all. Like these are things that you can put on there. Search homes by zip code, school district, neighborhood, or however you like. You'll discover a lot more than beds, baths, and price. I thought these were kind of cool. You can put some search bullets introducing my all new KW app. Useful and user-friendly, most advanced search features on the market. As you're scrolling through this thing and print it, there's a section that has social posts. I don't know if you can see that's highlighted. Once you get, if you can find this one on the scripts, there's a link that you can copy and paste, and it says, don't forget to use your own URL link. Go to Command on your laptop under Consumer and Site and App Setting, and you will see a unique link on that screen. Like this, if you copy and paste this, this will set it up. And it actually gives you a social post. It says, friends and family, today is a big day for me. KW was just launched a brand new home search app. Can I ask a big favor? Will you please download it and test it out for me? I'd love to hear what you think. Just click the link I posted above. Like this is what it says, like when you send this to your buyer or your seller. Here are some fun facts for you on the app. KW spent hundreds of millions to build this app. So when they pull it up, it's going to give them those fun facts about KW. Every screen was tested against every other search app, Zillow, Trulia, etc. And if consumers didn't like it more, it didn't pass. And then it's in capital letters. This is your app, meaning it's much like Netflix or Amazon, that it is unique to you. This is some cool stuff, huh? I'm actually gonna work on this. This is something that I like my KW app. How do you guys feel about the KW app? My buyers are really, they love it. They love it. They love to be able to drive around, automatically GPS something and pull it up and then get all this important information and then contact us. What is your take on it? How do you feel?
Yeah, I like it, and I have my buyers download it, and I say, look, I'm going to send you some information, but as you're driving around, you search for yourself and let me know if you see something that you like.
So you are using it, Jimmy, right now?
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
And you're getting good feedback, positive feedback about it, right?
Yeah, because they, like you said, they can customize their search for whatever they want, and they get better information, at the tip of their fingers.
Right, because when we're customizing things, it's nice to customize it per individual, because every individual we're working with, it has a different criteria. And I know we can do that in MLS, but it's still not as accurate as they want, because they're in a certain price range. You can get them to the 2-bedroom, and then you put them in like a little price range, and then sometimes they get things that they don't really like in the search. So this way you can customize it, and they can drive around at any time and utilize it. And when you do get them to accept the app, when you text it to them, it actually, if they're in your contacts in Command, when you go to pull up their contact, it's going to show that they're activated on your app. Have you seen that? Have anybody tried that?
No, I went through my reports off of the KW, home website, and looked, and it told me how many people. It didn't say who though.
Yeah, well, next to the contact, it actually tells you when they registered and signed up on your app, and it tells you when they're searching stuff too, and it shows you what they're looking at. Like on the right hand side of the screen, when when you click on them, it shows you where they where and it time dates it and everything. Oh, yesterday they looked at this listing and this property, so you kind of can keep up with them when you're going in Command and seeing what they're looking at on the app.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's awesome.
It is awesome. It's awesome. So, and believe me, I'm learning it myself, and I'm excited to share it, because now I want to get everybody on the app, because that gives me a snapshot of kind of what they are looking at.
Liz, would you happen to know if there's a way for us to look for a flood zone? Like if there's a way for them to show the flood zones on the app? Because that's my big issue, is a lot of people is asking about the flood zone without, so I have a client that's looking for homes, but she's looking in for non-flood.
Trying to find the flood zone. I honestly have not gotten that far on the app, but when I do, I will share that with you.
Yes, please. I tried it, but I'm like, well, maybe we just can't do it, because I know we can't do it in the MLS. So it's like she needs to be in a non-flood zone, but then she's sending me houses, so then I check it. I'm like, it's in a flood zone, so it's kind of.
You can do it in the MLS.
How?
You have to go into Realist. Have you gone into the Realist site?
No. I mean, yeah, I have, but I mean, as far as setting them up on a search and then doing the
comparing it to a no flood zone. You talking about?
Yeah.
And only sending them no flood zone properties.
Right.
Okay, yeah. No, I get you. I understand. No, I haven't figured that one out yet, but that is a really good question, and I'm gonna put that on my list to work on that, and I will get back with you on that, because that is important, especially with some of our first-time home buyers, right? Our first-time home buyers are so they're pre-approved, but sometimes they're tight. Like they only make a certain income. This is going to be their first house, but that flood zone, depending on what it is, could set them over the limit, right? It can, and that's happened to me recently. I had a house that I could get my buyer approved for. She loved the neighborhood, wanted that house, but the flood zone, it was an AE zone. And even with the interest rate being low, we could even bump her up a bit on the price, if that makes any sense, because the interest rate was low. But what kicked her out of the qualification for that particular property was the flood zone, and the flood insurance was like $1,800 a year. So that made a huge difference. So she was devastated, devastated, because she was all about wanting that house. And then I felt bad. I felt like I was a failure to her, even with all the experience I've been in the business. And then I finally, after 24 hours, was able to talk with her and the mom, because the grandmother was there too. And the grandmother was like, I'm not going to come with y'all to look at a house anymore. Because her granddaughter was so upset because she couldn't get that house. It was in the flood zone. So yeah, that's really a good question. I'm glad you asked that, and I will try to figure that one out and work on that and make sure I get that out to everyone once I learn how to do that, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
On the flood zone. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, let's see. The next thing we will move on, and the next screen we have is about compliance and the do not call. I think we're all kind of familiar with that. It just says subscribe to a registry, update your call list when we're calling on our buyers. Just be very mindful of when we're making calls that we don't target anyone that's on a no call list. I know some of us might call people in our spheres. At this point in my business, 16 years, most of mine is referrals, the majority of mine. And really, if it's someone that is not a referral, I'm usually point-to-point contact with that person. I just give my business card really to anyone I'm talking real estate, to anyone. And I find, and it helps too if you wear your name tag, if you're out and about. People like to see that you're a realtor. I don't know if you found that starting out. If you're just starting out, put your name tag on. I'm telling you, everybody likes to talk about real estate, no matter what. And I feel like your best marketing tool aside from all this stuff, and yourself is a business card, just a simple business card. So try to remember to always keep your business cards with you, either in your purse, but if you're not a female, you're not going to have it in your purse. Like Jimmy will have it in his pocket or in his wallet, or in your car. I always keep extra in my car. But that business card and having information on your KW app on your business card, that's cool, because anything you have on that card, that you hand it to them, you're good to go. You're good to go. That's the first step. That's the first step to get you to the client and get you to a contract. Any questions with that? And then we got to lead generation, calling scripts. I'm really not going to touch on this other than we have a lot of scripts available to us. And as a matter of fact, when we get back into the swing of things, I don't know if you know Daryl Smiley in the office. Daryl is awesome with scripts. He's someone that could be a good point of contact to call or email or text. And he can actually direct you to any kind of script, because he actually teaches the script classes. Have you ever attended any? Anybody know Daryl? No.
Yeah, no, I haven't done any of the scripts yet.
Yeah, you can just you can go ahead and get into our KW site and just put in the search screen, and there's opportunities right there for all kinds of scripts for lead generation, no matter what. But Daryl Smiley, contact him anytime if you wanted to get your hands on scripts. He was hosting and holding a lot of script classes before all this COVID. I don't think he's doing anything on Zoom calls for scripts, but he's someone that you could reach out to if you really wanted some good scripts for that. The next screen, update contacts and follow-up. Updating contacts and follow-up. That I'll touch back on that in regards to command. Get your clients in the command, create the opportunity, put them in there, and then just follow up with them. That's a good way, because when you go in there, and every time you click in command and you click on your contacts, all your contacts are right there. You can just block out your day. If you're lead generating and you're just calling your contacts, hey, how you doing? How's it going? You're following up with them, because maybe you're trying to just see if they have any needs or if they have any referrals. It's a good way. So that's a good way to update your contacts. And my rule of thumb is just to try to at least put 2 of them each day into command. And that's what I've been trying to do during the COVID. Contract practice. Okay, this part is basically reading a contract. Does anyone need any help going through the contract itself? I was told that Joyce, she's our broker, go-to broker in the office right now. She's the one that's going to be hosting contract classes to read through them. You guys may have already been going through that with PC. Is there any questions? Because I'd be happy to go through a contract if you need, and if you have any questions on that. Anybody have any questions on the contract?
Well, I sort of have a question. Okay, so we go over contracts with buyers, go over contracts with our buyers. What do you guys feel are the key points? I know we should go over everything, but I feel like if we go through the entire contract with them, it might overwhelm them. So is there certain key points that you go through with them to start with, and then maybe give them a copy of the contract to continue reading? How you guys handle that?
I just break it down. Like, I break it down like, that whole paragraph, for example, in the beginning of the contract that tells you everything that's included and things that are excluded in the contract. I just give like one synopsis statement in regards to what's going on in that paragraph. And then I break it down where it talks about the default of the seller or the default of the buyer. I just break that down and I don't read the entire thing. I just give them the full understanding of what that means in there. And I said, this is what this section is going over and telling you. This is what you're signing. This is what this means. The seller default, the buyer default. And then I just go through each one real quick. I just give a quick statement of what it means, and then they just sign. Okay. And then I say, do you have any questions in regards to this? And then, you know, I go through each step. I've said, I'm going to make copies of this. Whatever you're signing, you take it with you, go read over it. If they're going to read over it now or later, they take it home, call me if you have any questions. But break it down, just break it down in layman's terms. I'm going to go back to that word again of what that paragraph means and what this means, that, and that's all you need to do. You don't need to read it word by word, because some of those words they're not going to understand. That's in our real estate you know, world, some of that stuff that's in there. So
Thank
just,
you.
yeah, just break it down, and they're really good with that. They're okay with that. As long as you give them their copies, make sure you tell them, I'm going to give you this. If you have any questions, please review this when you go at home. The only time you'll probably ever get someone that's going to read every line, you'll probably either an engineer or a lawyer or something like that, that's going to read each one word for word.
Oh, yes, I had that. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
And you just have to be patient. We got to learn to have patience, because those are the definite clients that will read the whole entire thing. And they understand the word. They understand it. Anyway, next screen, you're welcome, no problem. Next screen is use command and connect to get help. Well, you know, in command, and then they got the tech enabled agents. There's so many different tools that you can go to and design in your business. I'm still tapping into it, folks. Like, you can do some campaigns and ads and all that stuff to send to your sellers and to your buyers and all that. I'm still trying to tap into that. I'm not going to tell you I am completely command savvy, because we're learning it too. I mean, and we're like veterans. And to teach a veteran this technology, yeah, we have to be slapped across the face a couple of times to wake us up, because we're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Okay. You got to have a lot of patience. So I just know when I'm delving into it, our connection with our clients is through the smart plans, the campaigns, the ad, and then in command, it's going to keep you on track. And, you know, and you're going to have communication through command. Whatever you submit, we know that they're looking at, right? Our office is looking at everything that goes in there, and they will communicate, because it will get rejected. If it's not correct, it'll come back. Next screen, create your success list. Here's just a kind of an example, a to-do, a should-do, a priority, and a task. We all have a different way of making our list, and there's not a right way and there's not a wrong way. As long as it's your list, it's keeping you in sync and on track with your buyers and your sellers. And again, I'm going to go back to this file. I think this is so good. If you can get your hands on this, this is like a success list right here. Create it and make it however you want. But to have like a checklist and with each file and with each client, keeps you on track. It makes the whole transaction go smoothly. It keeps your mind in sync too, because when you start to build your business and you start to get multiple transactions, it's tough. It's really tough to multitask and keep up with all this tedious information. So the tools that we have, let's utilize them. And that's it, folks. That's the end of our contract to close. And when you get a chance, I do have a survey at the end. You can take the survey. I appreciate it. Before I end this call, I want to say thank you for all of you guys that have participated. Do you guys have any questions for me before we end this call? Anything you could think of that you may need help with in a transaction or with your contract before I hang up the call? I'd be happy to help or give you what advice I think I can.
have a few
Anybody?
questions before you hang up. While I have you on the phone.
Anyone?
Oh, I
No.
was saying I had a few questions.
Okay.
It was just about the dates on the contract. Because I know that they wanted me to change a lot of the dates, the other side. So once you change the dates, it still just goes by the day that the contract was executed, right? Like they haven't signed yet, the seller side. So my 10 days will start from the day that they signed the
Your
contract.
10 days are going to start from the day that the contract is accepted. That means both parties have signed. So whether it was executed by your buyer on the 14th, and also you probably put a deadline on getting the response from the seller, right?
Yes. Okay. So at the beginning, on the 27th, on the Louisiana purchase agreement, I put for
Okay.
this Friday.
You
For Friday.
put Friday for the seller to respond to your offer?
Yeah, they respond to the offer and my client signed it. We just sent it back over, but the lender wants, he's ready to see the contract now, but it's not executed yet.